on your side. You learn. No, hey, Kevin, there's nothing out there for you. Don't be such a fucking chump. Stop deluding yourself.
Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn. Today's deck is one I've been super excited about brewing for a while because there's some tech in it that I haven't seen anyone else use. This one's called Deal with the Devil. And yes, this is a Cat Pact deck, so we're using Harmless Offering with Demonic Pact and Greed's Gambit, and plenty of other content creators have tried to brew this deck, and it's been cute, it's been cool. But I think our version of it turns it up to 11. We have some very interesting card choices that I think most people have slept on. Some cards that have insane synergies with this playstyle that nobody has used, at least nobody that I've seen, nobody has thought to use, and just takes this deck and just turns it up to 11. It makes it absolutely insane. 100% win rate, guys. Now, granted, we only played about 5 or 6 games in a row, but we won every single one. We didn't lose a single game. This deck is versatile, it has tons of tutors, it never runs out of gas, it has all of the control in the world, and it just keeps going. It's bananas. So we're going to break it down for you. I can't wait to tell you about specifically a couple of the key card choices that are very different from other decks like this that just make it so much better. I'm not going to spoil it now. I'll let you know in the deck tech breakdown, but you got to see it in action, man. We put them to great use in the games, and it's bananas. Make sure you like this video. Help me get it out to so many more people. Subscribe if you're new. We just hit 12K subscribers, and I couldn't be more proud. This community is just amazing, and I appreciate the hell out of you guys for sticking it through with me. So many more crazy decks on the way. Be sure to catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/QuarantineCapricorn. Because from alive, I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming, and I'm tired, and I'm rambling, and I'm slurring my speech, and I'm sorry, but I'm excited. Let's break down the deck. So I'm honestly pretty pumped about this deck. Now, we've seen plenty of Cat Pact decks on the ladder. People have been trying to brew it ever since Foundations came out, and we have Harmless Offering here. 1 blue and 2 for a sorcery. Target opponent gains control of target permanent you control. So you can take things that are detrimental to have in play for yourself, give them to your opponent, and get a huge swing of card advantage and power. By doing so, we have a couple of really awesome hits for this card in Standard right now. But I think my version of the deck actually has some really interesting card choices that I think have flown under the radar and nobody's really trying. And I really think they take this deck and kind of turn it up to 11 and make it crazy. Now, we only played like 5 or 6 games with this deck, but we got a 100% win rate, and I'm excited to try it even more on the ladder. And I think it's just because of how many tutors we have and how much card draw we have. We just always get to what we need and always have a ton of control. So, core of the deck is this Harmless Offering. And then we're also using 2 copies of Demonic Pact, 2 black and 2 for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you choose one that hasn't been chosen. Deal 4 damage to any target and gain 4 life. Target opponent discards 2 cards, draw 2 cards, and then you lose the game. So gives us an insane amount of card advantage and value, but eventually we lose the game unless we give it to our opponent with Harmless Offering. And that's the part of the deck that we've seen everyone kind of do ever since Foundations came out. But the reason we're only running 2 copies is because we have an insane amount of tutors in this deck, the most important of which being 3 copies of Beseech the Mirror, where for 4 mana, we can sacrifice any artifact, enchantment, or token, just find the Demonic Pact, put it right on the battlefield, and it's ready to go. But if we already have a Demonic Pact out, and it's the last turn we need to have it and turn it over, we could just use Beseech the Mirror to find the Harmless Offering instead. Play that for free, give them the pact, so that when we say go, they untap and lose the game. Absolutely crucial that we put these Beseech the Mirrors to good use, getting whatever pieces we need, but we have other crazy tutors to do it with as well. We're running 4 copies of Case of the Stash Skeleton, because it gives us a 2/1 menace skeleton that can't block, and whenever that skeleton is gone, we solve the case, and then we get to basically sacrifice this case and use it as a demonic tutor. Just find whatever we want, so we can find whatever combo pieces we need. And we have another tutor as well, but I'll get to that in just a minute because I'm getting ahead of myself. We're also running 3 copies of Greed's Gambit. This is very good to give to your opponent, just like Demonic Pact, but it works a little bit differently. 4 mana for an enchantment. When it enters, you draw 3 cards, gain 6 life, create 3 2/1 black bat creature tokens with flying. But then at the beginning of your end step, you discard a card, lose 2 life, and sacrifice a creature. So you want to give this to your opponent as soon as possible so that you don't have to do that every single turn, and instead your opponent now has to do that at the end of every single one of their turns. Sometimes you can just win by outvaluing them and win through attrition by making this trigger at the end of their turn every single turn, and eventually they just run out of resources, which is nuts. So sometimes you don't even need the Demonic Pact. But this is really good earlier when you're curving out. The reason we have 3 copies of this as opposed to only 2 of Demonic Pact is because the Greed's Gambit's actually good as our turn 4 curve play to get us an insane amount of value, to gas up, and to draw into the other things we need, like our tutors, like our Demonic Pacts, everything else that's in the deck, our control pieces and stuff that we need to use to sort of stay alive and drag the game out. So Greed's Gambit is awesome. We give it to our opponent, and we just get an insane amount of value. But we have some interesting cards in this deck to go along with the Greed's Gambit, the Demonic Pact, the Harmless Offering, the Beseech the Mirror, which I think is a key piece. So we already talked about Case of the Stashed Skeleton, which gives us 2 tokens, or gives us 1 token, 1 enchantment, so 2 permanents. Either one of those can be sacrificed to a Beseech the Mirror if we need to, which is important to keep track of. But we also run Coveted Falcon. 3 mana for a 1/4 flyer. You can play it face down as a Ward 2 2/2 creature for 3 mana, and then flip it up whenever you want for 1 blue and 1. And when you do, you get to give your opponent control of any number of permanents that you control and draw a card for each one you do. And then also when Coveted Falcon attacks, you gain control of target permanent that you own but don't control. So the idea is you want to flip up the Falcon, you want to give them the Demonic Pact, you want to give them the Greed's Gambit, you want to give them all of the things that are going to give you value by turning over all of this awful stuff that they now have to deal with. But Coveted Falcon gets even better through some of these other cards that we're using, such as that Case of the Stashed Skeleton. We can give our opponent the Case of the Stashed Skeleton while we still have the skeleton token. And then when we say go, because they don't have a skeleton token, they'll solve the case at the end of their turn. But since they can only sacrifice the case as a sorcery, they never get an opportunity to sacrifice it, to use it. And then on our turn, we can just attack with the Coveted Falcon and steal it back, and it's immediately ready to sacrifice and fetch whatever we want. We don't have to wait until the end of our turn to solve it. So it's a way to get access to the case sooner, to get access to the case even if we still have the skeleton, and to draw an extra free card off of Coveted Falcon by giving them the case to begin with. So insanely good synergy with the Falcon, especially when we want tutors in this deck anyway to find all of our combo pieces. And in a similar fashion, we're also running 3 copies of Wishclaw Talisman. Now, this is the craziest tech for this deck that I've seen nobody use. 2 mana for an artifact, it enters with 3 wish counters on it, and you pay 1, tap, and remove a wish counter to search your library for any card, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. But the opponent gains control of this artifact, and you can only activate the ability during your turn. The important thing to note about this is that the artifact is tapped when you give it to your opponent. So you can effectively use this to tutor for anything you want for only 1 mana once it's in play, but then your opponent gets to tutor for whatever they want and probably blow you out and just really take over the game by getting the right thing to counter whatever you did. And sure, you will get it back and get to tutor for something that 3rd time, but a lot of times it's so hard to catch up with whatever they tutor for with that 2nd use. We get around that in this deck because we use this, remove a wish counter, tutor for whatever we want, and if we already have a Coveted Falcon in play, we just attack with the Falcon and immediately steal back the Wishclaw Talisman before they ever get to untap it and use it. So we just get free value off the Wishclaw Talisman. We basically get to pay 1 mana, search for anything we want every turn for 3 turns in a row once a turn, which is insane in this deck. So I think since we want to use 4 copies of the Coveted Falcon anyway, so that we have another way to give our opponent all of the cards we need to make sure we give them, like the Demonic Pact and the Greed's Gambit, we want a second way to do that in addition to these Harmless Offerings. So since we want to be running these anyway, we're running even crazier tutors that we get more value off the Falcon with when we give it to them. And then we're also running Wishclaw Talismans that we can get insane value off of because we could just take it back with the Coveted Falcon every turn. It's absolutely insane. Now, the rest of the deck is kind of built around the premise of the cards we've talked about so far. So, since we're running so many tutors, we have some silver bullet targets to search up. Things like 1 copy of Phasing of Zhalfir, which can phase out some stuff for a couple turns, buy us the time we need to get to our combos and all of that, and also can just be read ahead to Chapter 3 to wipe the board and replace all of the creatures wiped with 2/2 Phyrexians. And sometimes if our opponent has some really big nasties out, it's much better to give them a couple 2/2s than to let them keep their really big nasty creatures. So that phase 3, that Chapter 3 can come into play, you know, in certain circumstances, but Chapter 1 and 2 are pretty good as well. It's also another way to get around some of the detrimental effects of those permanents. If we have a Greed's Gambit in play, we could phase out our Greed's Gambit after we play it and avoid having to sacrifice, discard, lose life for a couple turns in a row, which is nice. We could do the same thing with Demonic Pact. If Demonic Pact is about to pop and it's going to kill us and we don't have a way to give it to our opponent yet, we could Phasing of Zhalfir and, you know, just remove it. Not remove it, but phase it out for a couple turns, buy us the time we need to get the thing we need to, you know, finally give it to our opponent and make sure it doesn't kill us. So having all of this versatility, I like running 1 copy of this. We can search it up with all of our tutors if we need to. In a similar fashion, we have 1 Terror Tide because we can also search it up, and we do run a lot of permanents in this deck. Has Fathomless Descent, all creatures get -X/-X, where X is the number of permanents in your graveyard. So sometimes this can be a key board wipe to kind of reset the clock a bit if our opponent's racing and winning the race, which is really, really nice. We also have 1 copy of Pyroclasm, deals 2 damage to each creature. Not only is this good against aggro, sometimes it's good to pick up with one of our tutors a little bit later if we have some creatures that might survive it, like a turned face-up Coveted Falcon, stuff like that, but it wipes out aggro pretty well. It's also really good to follow up a Phasing of Zhalfir, because if we kill all of their creatures and replace them with 2/2s, and then we Pyroclasm, we can also kill all of the 2/2s, so sometimes that might be relevant. But it's important to note as well that for the Terror Tide, we want as many permanents as we can in the graveyard, and we also want to go wide with permanents for Coveted Falcon anyway, because if we can play permanents that get us value when we play them, but don't really have as much value when they're on the board, giving them to our opponent, we don't lose as much, but we get to draw cards for all of that. So there's a lot of cards in this deck that give us control or draw in the form of permanents so that we can get even more value off of Coveted Falcon and potentially have more things in the graveyard if we need to search up Terror Tide. So we're running 3 copies of Nowhere to Run, Flash, -3/-3 for 2 mana. It's going to be our removal in the early game as we're curving out, and then also be there to sacrifice or to hand over with the Falcon and draw cards. We've also got just 1 copy of Blood Spatter Analysis. This could have been a 4th Nowhere to Run, but I like having the versatility of 1 of these in there since we have so many tutors anyway and we can search up whatever we need. In the right circumstances, we could search a Blood Spatter Analysis to kill whatever thing we need to kill instead of a Nowhere to Run if maybe we have a Coveted Falcon in the graveyard that we really need to get back. So we can get a little bit of extra value because over time, the Blood Spatter Analysis starts to build up counters every time something dies. And eventually when it gets enough counter, we can get get something back from the graveyard so we can get back that Coveted Falcon. So in certain circumstances, we can get a little bit more value out of the Blood Spatter analysis. Most of the time, Nowhere to Run's just going to be better, so we are running full 3 copies of that. But I think including 1 copy of Blood Spatter analysis instead of a 4th Nowhere to Run is right, since we have like 10 tutors in this deck. We're also running 3 copies of Disturbing Mirth, because we do have plenty of things we can sacrifice to it, since we're trying to go wide with permanents that can maybe get us some value off of Coveted Falcon anyway. Being able to sacrifice our Nowhere to Run, or the token that we get off Case of the Stashed Skeleton, or under some circumstances maybe even the Stashed Skeleton itself, or a Wishclaw Talisman after it's run out of counters. There's so many different things we could possibly sacrifice to Disturbing Mirth, draw a bunch of cards, and then if we have something else that lets us sacrifice something later on, we can sacrifice the Disturbing Mirth itself to get even more value by manifesting Dread. And sometimes we'll be lucky enough to hit a Coveted Falcon off of a Manifest Dread with Disturbing Mirth and have a face down Falcon without our opponent ever realizing we actually have a face down Falcon, so that we can just spend 2 mana whenever we want and give them whatever we need to give them. And that can be really insane when it works out well. Sometimes it will, and it's really, really nuts. I love it. We're also running 3 copies of Torch the Tower, 1 mana removal at instant speed. If we bargain it, we can do even more damage and get to scry 1. But this also gives us another way to sacrifice some of our permanents, and it's nice to have stuff like Disturbing Mirth in here, Torch the Tower, things that can sacrifice our enchantments, because if we're desperate and we don't have a way to give them our Demonic Pact, and it's about to kill us, at least we can sacrifice it to a Disturbing Mirth or a Torch the Tower, get rid of it so that at least we're not dead, and we can keep playing and try to catch up that way. So as a backup plan, I like the idea of including stuff like Disturbing Mirth and Torch the Tower, since we want to go wide with permanents anyway, for more things to give to our opponent to draw cards. It just all seems to work out perfectly and cross-synergize with each other, which I really love. The last 2 cards, we've got just 1 Final Vengeance that we can tutor up, since again, we don't necessarily mind sacrificing things. This can exile a problematic creature that's too big for some of our other things to get rid of. And then in similar fashion, we have just 1 copy of Unable to Scream. We can search this up and use this as removal for really problematic big creatures that we can't kill with things like Torch the Tower or Nowhere to Run. But another extra little bit of value with Unable to Scream is the fact that it counts as a permanent on the battlefield, and one that it doesn't matter if our opponent gains control of. So if we play this and get one of their creatures to be irrelevant, well, now we can give it to our opponent with Coveted Falcon to draw an extra card, and it doesn't really matter if they control the Unable to Scream or not. It doesn't really give them any value whatsoever. So a little bit of silver lining value to be had there as well. And there's a lot of that in this deck, honestly. There's just so many different little ways that we get extra silver lining value off all of our card choices. When I first put the deck together, I was worried that only having 2 Demonic Pacts and 3 Greed's Gambits just wouldn't be enough, but there's so many cards that want to see play in this deck that we kind of have to shave them off. And honestly, that number ends up working out perfectly because we just have so much card draw, so much ability to tutor, and we don't need more than 2 Demonic Pact. One last synergy that I do want to point out before we wrap up the deck tech is the fact that a Demonic Pact, if we've already got the 3 valuable modes off of it and it's getting to the point where we're going to lose the game, we can just sacrifice the first Demonic Pact to a Beseech the Mirror and find a second Demonic Pact, put it right into play for free. So there's extra value and extra synergy in this deck that way. There's just so many cool play lines and so many cool things we can do. We have 1 Valgavoth's Lair in the land base just for another thing that we can potentially sacrifice to like Disturbing Mirth or Torch the Tower, stuff like that. Just lots of crazy synergy. We're running 1 Mirrex so that we can make tokens for similar reasons, 2 Fabled Passages, a whole bunch of the Verge lands and the Surveil lands, the Surveil lands being especially good because sometimes we can get stuff back out of our graveyards, so it's nice to be able to not only scry, but also maybe put some of that stuff into our graveyard. If you want the full breakdown of the mana base, it is in the deck description, so check that out if you're interested. I'm going to shut up because I've been talking too long, just like I do on all of these deck breakdowns, but honestly, I kind of need to with this one, because there's just so much here, and so much craziness, and once you see this in action, you'll understand, because we went undefeated, and the deck is just nuts. Let's check out the games. Alright. This is a little rough. We don't have access to any red, but we don't really need red right away. We have 2 of our tutor targets in our hand. But I mean, they're not awful ones to have. I think we keep it. It's like, it's on the fence. If we didn't have the Unable to Scream, I don't know that I would keep it, because we need to make sure we can control his early plays. We'll keep it. We'll start with an island and just kind of try to hide what colors we're using for now. Okay, we'll hide our red. We'll just get the Wishclaw Talisman out. We're probably not going to use it anytime soon. The great thing about the Falcon is it comes down with Ward. So if we play it on curve, a lot of times they can't really get rid of it. Which is sort of awesome. Pass to you. Next turn we tutor for whatever we want. And then steal it back. Yeah, that seems perfect. Oh wait, we're not going to be able to flip it. Well, if we tutor for a land, we will be able to flip, right? So let's do that. Let's tutor for a land. It needs to be red. It needs to be basic to turn on our verges. So it has to be our 1 mountain. Then, well, maybe we don't want to flip it yet. I kind of like keeping the ward on it for now, right? Yeah, we did that backwards. We needed to wait and tutor it next turn. When we could already attack with the Falcon. Wait, no, we can attack with the Falcon right now. Yeah, I'm a dummy. Don't listen to me. I'm mixing up my turns. I'm so excited. So we're going to give him this and this to draw 2. And we're going to attack. And we're going to take back our talisman. And like, he ramps up a little bit, but we kind of want him to be, because we want him to like put out one of his big beastly things, and then we just deal with it. We're going to take back the land next turn. So we basically get to draw a card for free and force him to put out a better thing. Okay, maybe not. We got another Falcon though. Maybe I shouldn't take risks like that by giving a land away later on. I should probably keep that in mind. Alright, it's fine. It's fine. Play out another one. He might be able to deal with this one too. But we shall see. Chunky's got me covered. Thank you, Chunky. I mean, we're getting all of his removal out of his hand, so that's good. We've got a Raucous Theater. Do we want to ditch the Pyroclasm? We need to keep it, I think. We'll play out the case of the Stash Skeleton. See, right now we're just leveraging our value long term. Past the turn. We're not in a rush. We know eventually this is a tutor, can find us whatever we want. Same thing with the Beseech. So we're going to need exile removal for that. Or Terror Tide. Tail Swipe. There will be none of that. We're not sacking anything. Well, at this point, Pyroclasm is greedy. And it's way better to scry it to the bottom than surveil it into the graveyard. So we're gonna take him up on that. We need to deal with Phyrexian Obliterator. And we need to figure out how to. We don't have enough blue for Phasing of Zhalfir. I guess I don't like letting him. I don't like letting him take the Wishclaw Talisman. Let me think. 1, 2. Can only target the Obliterator. This is unfortunate. I don't want to give him the Wishclaw Talisman. I don't wanna. I think I just let him hit me with it next turn. As crazy as that sounds. I mean, we just don't have anything to hit with Torch the Tower. I could sack the Wishclaw Talisman in response after I activate it to Torch the Tower. But I have nothing to target, so I end up doing 3 to the Obliterator and have to sacrifice 3 permanents. So we're just gonna say go. Super unfortunate. It's also really unfortunate that we used our Unable to Scream early. Because that would have been the perfect answer to the Obliterator. Alright, we got a few different options here. I guess our best one is this. We have to kill the Obliterator, right? No matter what. So we're going to sack our tutor. A commander for this? That would be hilarious. Let's grab... Where are you? The only thing that can deal with this.
Oh, boy!
There you go. Final Vengeance.
I'm back!
We need a creature or enchantment, though. Man, this is a pain. Yeah, there's no way to do it. Yeah, we're just gonna have to pass the turn again. I can't let him tutor for something. That's even worse. We can afford to take a couple Obliterator hits. We can't afford to let him tutor for whatever he wants. That's just bad. That's bad business. Maybe I should have got a blue land and just played Phasing of Zhalfir. You know what? I kind of like that. I kind of like that. Let's phase out the Obliterator and just buy us a couple turns. 𝔻𝑼𝑥𝑖𝑠 is probably most common. Yeah, probably. Alright, end the turn. Obliterator's phased out. Whatever he tries to play. Oh, it didn't allow me to... I was going to use that in response. You jerk. It's okay, though. I think we got him now. I think we got him now, guys. I think we got him now. Wow, that Pyroclasm came up again? Crazy. This is gonna go away and destroy everything. That's probably a good thing, though. Let's do this. Let's draw some more cards. We'll end up having to discard something, but that will actually be a good thing. Because we'll be able to Terror Tide. Terror Tide, as long as we discard a permanent. Which would be Disturbing Mirth or Demonic Pact. Uses all of his removal. I think we discard Disturbing Mirth. And now we have 5 permanents for Terror Tide. So even if he plays another Obliterator, we just Terror Tide them, right? Alright, so Harmless Offering the Greed, for sure. For sure, 100%. That's something we definitely have to do. And then we Beseech the Mirror, the Mirth. I guess we put an enchantment in the graveyard for Terror Tide. And we grab... Could grab another Greed's Gambit. Nah, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. We'll just go Coveted Falcon. Pass the turn. Because we've got Wishclaw Talisman about to unphase on our next turn. So even not being able to give him stuff with it, we're in a pretty good position. Tail Swipe. Bargain. Yes. Oh, wait. We can't sack that. That's okay. We'll just do it this way. We'll kill it first. We'll kill our own guy first. It's fine. Screw your Tail Swipe. Get out of here. Get out of here with that Tail Swipe. Taco. Taco. No blocks. So we'll go to 8. He has to sack. And now we're... Dude. Now we're living large. Now we are living large. Let's see. We will Demonic Pact. We will search for something. That something will be a Greed's Gambit. We will play the Greed's Gambit. And then we will attack and take back the Talisman. No tutoring for you, my friend. We will discard a land. Sacrifice a bat. Let's see. We will draw 2 cards. We just want to find something to give away our Greed's Gambit now. That's all that matters. So, Wishclaw Talisman. Okay, he's just gonna scoop. Yep. That's it. That's all it takes. think we keep this. We've got a turn 2 Nowhere to Run to deal with his threats if we need to. 1 land away from getting a Greed's Gambit. We get to surveil 1, which is awesome. And we've even got a Harmless Offering ready to go. Let's keep it. Let's keep it. Let's keep it. Alright. We'll start with the sewers. Do we keep a second Nowhere to Run? Yeah, I think we will. We don't have a 3-drop that we actually want to use on 3, but we do have all 4 of our lands for Beseech and Harmless Offering, so we don't desperately need a 4th land. And we do want something we can play on turn 3, preferably something that stalls out the opponent, so I think Nowhere to Run is a good choice. Well, we'll kill the Fairy Mastermind, unless he's got a trick. But even if he does, we can kill it next turn. Alright, we've got a Coveted Falcon. Better to play it now and not play a 4-drop next turn? Not sure. There is a chance we could draw a land and still play a 4-drop, so I think that's the tiebreaker. Also, the sooner we get this out, the more relevant the ward is. It could make all the difference in the world. Next turn could be a turn too late. He could have the mana he needs to remove it. Whereas this turn, maybe he won't. So we'll keep it. We'll drink some Nectar of the Gods, and we'll see what he wants to do. 𝔻𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑐ℎ. I think he may have left the building. Nope, he's just thinking long and hard. He probably has a cut down, and it's frustrated he can't use it because of the ward too. Do you spend your whole turn killing my thing? I guess you do. Guess you do. And that's fine. We've got Harmless Offering. I am not worried, friend. We've got another one. Yes. We will keep it. We'll hold up Nowhere to Run for this turn. But we've got Gambit, Offering, Gambit, Offering. And somewhere in the middle we could Beseech the Mirror. Which is amazing. Well, he needs to be playing creatures to get value here. Which is wonderful. So we'll do that. We'll draw cards. We'll gain life. We'll play you. We'll crack you. We want black for Beseech the Mirror. We don't get to hold up our Torch the Tower because of it, but I don't think it'll be as relevant as having the 3rd black for Beseech. Now we could Final Vengeance to get rid of the Enduring Curiosity if we want by sacking a bat. I don't think that's a good idea. I think we're going to dump the Torch the Tower. Next turn, Harmless Offering for 3 leaves us 2 mana. So if we're desperate, we can Final Vengeance as well. Kaito. Sure. What's great too is if he uses Restless Reef to swing, he'll have to sack it to the Greed's Gambit if he doesn't have any other creatures. So the Greed's Gambit does help us kinda deal with his manlands, which is awesome. Alright, he got the emblem. Also played a Spectral Sailor. That's kind of perfect. Target you. Take the Gambit. Do we Final Vengeance the Kaito? Or do we Case of the Stash Skeleton? I think maybe we Final Vengeance the Kaito. Oh wait, we can't. It only kills creatures or enchantments. Well, we could Final Vengeance the Sailor and swing at Kaito for 4. That doesn't really get rid of it though. Let's do it this way. We'll see if he blocks with Spectral Sailor or not. We have plenty of health, and we're not sacking and losing health every turn to Greed's Gambit, so I think we'll be okay. If he doesn't block here, I do think we want to Final Vengeance the Sailor, because we don't want him drawing extra cards off of Curiosity just by swinging with it. But if he does block, then we'll play out the Case of the Stash Skeleton. Either way, we get Kaito down as much as possible.
Give in.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Alright, so that's one less creature he can swing at us with, at least. And our health total is pretty healthy because of that Greed's Gambit. So I'm actually not too worried. A Preacher. I mean, you're just gonna have to sack it, dude. Alright, drawing cards. We're gonna give you another one real soon. Real soon. Real soon. Creature of the Schism. Okay. Ow. Sack something. Sack it! I'm gonna give him the shrug. Well, we're going to Greed's Gambit. Again. We could Unable to Scream. I think I like the idea of the Final Vengeance better. We'll kill Kaito. No, you know what? We'll Unable to Scream. That way he'll have to sack it to the Greed's Gambit anyway, and it also lets us hold on to actual exile removal in case he drops something unexpected. And we'll discard... I guess we'll discard a case. We don't need all of this tutoring, right? And we'll sack the skeleton to turn on our Case of the Stash Skeleton. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Gonna go for the throat one of them. Oh, okay. I don't know why he did that. But sure. Sure. Let's target you and give you another one. Yeah. It's over, buddy. It is over. Greed's Gambit with the ultimate value. Do we keep this? We have one of our silver bullet tutor targets. Honestly, it's not really that great of a hand for us. But we've got some manipulation for the top of the deck. It also turns on our verges, and we've got to torch the tower to sort of buy us some time. So I think we actually will keep it. Keep only winning hands, FYI. This is a suboptimal hand for sure, but I think the deck might be strong enough to overcome it. So we'll see. We shall see. Maybe we'll get to flip some tables. I have coffee, that's all that matters. Another Verge. I mean, we straight up have what we need for phasing and Beseech if we just keep it. I think we actually keep it. A little risky, but we'll figure it out. Pass the turn. Give me something to kill. No Llanowar Elf, but we got a basic forest. Surprising. I have to assume they're playing Llanowar Elf and just didn't get lucky enough to have it in their opening hand. Very, very interesting. Well, we'll drag out the game as long as we need to. Let's kill the Wildborn Preserver. Next turn, we phasing. And then we can Beseech the Mirror away the phasing if we need to, which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool. But do we hold on to it for now? Or you know what? We're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. Worst case scenario, we just sack it to Beseech next turn. And we lock this down for this turn. That's not awful. That's not awful. Phase everything out. Do we want a Wishclaw Talisman? It's real tempting. My dog is being a dick. Hey! Stop grumping. Come lay down. Come here. Come here. That is not allowed. You know better. Now lay down. I don't really want to get rid of the phasing yet. I really don't. I guess we should, though. I guess we should.
Now I have a machine gun.
Grab a Greed's Gambit.
Ho, ho, ho.
And we do still have a Torch the Tower. And we will discard. I guess we discard. I don't know. What do we discard? We don't really have anything to sacrifice to the Disturbing Mirth. I think that might be the play. Pass. Alright, so everything phases back in. We want to kill the Leaf Crowned Visionary. I should have put a stop, honestly, during the upkeep. We kill it then. Don't let him draw. It's okay, though. It's okay, though. It's actually probably better this way because he wouldn't have even cast the Dwynen's Elite. Now we get to stop him from getting a counter off of it. Alright. So we're definitely going to Harmless Offering the Greed's Gambit. The question is, what else do we do? think we attack with 1 bat. We find a red source. We Harmless Offering. Target the opponent. Target the Greed's Gambit. We don't Harmless Gift the Talisman. We actually have something even better in here. But it's going to take a little bit of time. So we'll sack the tapped bat. Draw some cards. There we go. That's what we want. That's what we want. So the Coveted Falcon, when we attack with the Falcon, we get to take back things that we own but don't control. So we use the Talisman. We tutor for whatever we want for only 1 mana. And it's tapped when they get it. So then we just immediately attack with the Falcon and steal it back. They never get to use it. We get to tutor 3 cards over 3 turns for 1 mana each. Insane. Oh, they both have trample? Lame. 2 audacities. He's gonna have to sack 1. There's no way he's got like a 3 mana overrun effect, right? Oh, he's drawing cards. He's gonna have to sack something.
Say
and
take
discard.
off. Move the side from orbit.
It's the only way to be sure. You don't want to sacrifice Greed's Gambit to Mirth. If you sack it, you have to sacrifice 3 creatures, lose 6 life, and discard 3 cards. That is a very bad idea. That is a very, very bad idea. We do want to sacrifice this Disturbing Mirth right now. If we can. Let's see, we go Wishclaw Talisman. Maybe I shouldn't have used it yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to because I'm crazy. Let's go... I mean, I kind of want to go Demonic Pact, but I don't know if that's actually what we should do. Let's go with Final Vengeance. Right? We'll Final Vengeance, sack the Mirth, get rid of the Elite, turn over a Coveted Falcon. Dude, perfect. Perfect. Doesn't have haste, but that's okay. That is okay. We're gonna play Case of the Stash Skeleton. So he will get to use the Wishclaw Talisman once. But I think we're so far ahead it doesn't matter. Whatever he plays, he has to sack to the Greed's Gambit. And he has to discard and lose life. He won't have anything with haste, most likely. Dragonox, what did you think I should use? You think I should have tutored for Offering? He's got to use that Wishclaw Talisman now. Or he won't ever get to use it. He probably thinks he can use it whenever he wants. Oh! Oh! What are you doing? What are you doing? He doesn't know how that works. Oh, God. Oh, God. No grumping, Bo. He's like, I don't know what to find. I'm gonna be dead. It's gonna be at 2. It's gonna be at 2. We've got another Wishclaw Talisman. Yeah. He's toast. This hand is a little bit weird. Actually, the more I think about it, this is actually a really good hand. We're gonna keep this. Because we can just use the passage to find something on 1. We don't need a 1-drop. Now we don't even need to. We can Thundering Falls on one, and that's even better. We'll dump the theater. Yeah, this is going to be really good. Hopefully the Greed's Gambit will draw us into a way to give it to them. We'll go Blazemire Verge and Case. Start getting some aggression on the ground. Case is really good in this deck too, because what we can do is when we flip the Falcon, we can give the Case to our opponent and then say go, let them solve it because they don't have a skeleton. And then the next turn we attack with the Falcon, we take it back, and it's already solved. We don't have to wait until the end of our turn to solve it, and we can crack it right then. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So we're going to swing with the skeleton here. We're going to hold up some removal, pass the turn. Yeah, the whole point of the Gambit is you give them away. Gambits are only good in decks where you can give them away because it's the only way you can get rid of it without the downside. So a deck like this, where you're focused around giving things away, that's where Greed's Gambit's at its best. That's why you want to make sure you include it. It would be very much a lost opportunity if you didn't. Do we kill everything? I don't think we kill everything. We're going to play out the Nowhere to Run to be mana efficient and kill one of them. Then we're going to play Fabled Passage. Find a black-red land. Black or red land. Probably black's actually better. And we'll play the Greed's Gambit. There's the Harmless Offering. We'll swing for 2. Yeah, we have a ton, an absolute ton of tutors in this deck. And that's kind of the reason. So we sack our skeleton to the Greed's Gambit. Now our Case is going to be solved next turn. We'll Harmless Offering the Greed's Gambit away, and that'll leave us with 2 mana. So if we need to kill something, we torch the tower. If we don't, we Case of the Stashed Skeleton again. Or we could crack our other Case as well. Maybe find like a Coveted Falcon, or maybe find a Demonic Pact. Yeah, but the thing about the Greed's Gambit is it finds us all the things we need too. All of that card draw is nuts. All of that card draw is absolutely nuts. So now he has to... Another Overlord. Okay, that's fine. I'm really tempted to Terror Tide. I'm not going to. But I'm really tempted to. Target you. Target that. Let's see. Do we Blood Spatter analysis something? I think we do. Just to slow him down. And we can start racing him now. Because we've got more damage on board. And he's going to be taking damage from Greed's Gambit. Alright, Case of the Stashed Skeleton is solved. Day of Judgment. I mean, gotta do what you gotta do. Well, lose 2 life and discard a card, my friend. In a deck where you have tools for giving them away, Greed's Gambit is a lot like Invoke Despair. It just does so much. It just does so much. That being said, we are not going to play it this turn. We're going to grab Demonic Pact. We basically have a whole turn off here, where our opponent has taken his foot off the gas a bit because he put out a sweeper. So we can slip one in. So we will do it. We will absolutely do it. We might still need 𝐺𝑟𝑖𝑒𝐿 Gambit just to find a way to give away the Demonic Pact. So we could deal 4 to the Overlord and torch it. Honestly, that's probably the best bet for now. Discard would have been good because we might not get another opportunity to discard. Do we have any Coveted Falcons in the yard? I'm running a 1-of Blood Spatter analysis. Just as one of my removal pieces, my 2-drop removal pieces, because in the right situations we could search it up and get back a Coveted Falcon from the yard with it. Let's see, we've got 6 mana. I guess we just do this. And then we do this. And we honestly just probably win next turn. Dump an island. Sack a skeleton. Get a counter on the Blood Spatter analysis. Way high on life because of all the 𝐺𝑟𝑖𝑒𝐿 Gambits. 𝐺𝑟𝑖𝑒𝐿 Gambit's so good. So good. I can understand, 𝔻𝐿𝐸, why you would be worried at first. The gut instinct of being worried about it being too greedy, no pun intended, is definitely correct. But this is the perfect deck for it. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to sack our Nowhere to Run. Do we make him discard while we can? Nah, we'll draw 2. Oh my god, Wishclaw Talismans. And a Falcon. We have 8 mana. 3, 4. I mean, I kind of want the Overlord dead. Alright, here's what we're going to do. Beseech the Mirror. Bargain. We're going to sack our Nowhere to Run. We're going to find Harmless Offering. We're going to play Harmless Offering. Give him the 𝐺𝑟𝑖𝑒𝐿 Gambit. Then we're going to Terror Tide. Solve the case. Let him go. He dies at the end of his turn. Unless he has a way to gain life. Yeah, you have to stay out in front of everything. There's a lot to keep track of. There's a lot of different ways where you can lose on very specific turns. You have to plan around what you're playing through the next 3 turns in specific ways, especially if you have Demonic Pact and 𝐺𝑟𝑖𝑒𝐿 Gambit out, and you got to think what turn is the Pact running out, and you need to give it away then, but you also want to be giving away the 𝐺𝑟𝑖𝑒𝐿 Gambit as soon as possible. There's a lot of craziness. A lot of craziness. Target opponent discards 2. Now we can't attack with it this turn. So we definitely... Hold on. One, two. 1, 2. Yeah, we'll just do this. Submit 2. Submit 2, my friend. Oh my god. Well, just in case, we'll go like this. He's gonna die on his upkeep, so Under normal circumstances, I would not give him the case there since it's already solved. But it would be a perfect opportunity if the case isn't solved yet. Give it to him. He can't use it. He solves it. And then you take it back the next turn. Well, now he's dead. It is over, Sir Anthony. Absolutely over. Absolutely over. We'll give him the happy angel. I appreciate your sacrifice, Sir Anthony. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.